Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is my new tree, a bonsai in the making. It's certainly not there yet. Can you tell what it is yet? I was teasing in my orchid video, the Sunday chat video, about what the tree might be and leaving a couple of subtle hints. Well, it is in fact a hazel tree, yes. So the tree that I was saying it's similar to in both growth and look is the alder that I have in the garden that gets trimmed as a shrub, you know, kept tidy. Well, that's what this will have to have done. This has been allowed to go a bit. I've only just noticed it's got some wire on it. Not the best time of year to have wire on young shoots because the young shoots are going mad and swelling. So I will probably take it off because this is a naturally curly tree. It naturally forms gnarly bits, and in addition to that they're very vigorous, so they shoot out all over the place basically. And because they have alternate buds, you can choose your direction of growth as you prune. So you can get a branch to actually head in a direction that you want. It's also very prone to suckers, as you can see. Those need taking off straight away. So we will get rid of those. I find it difficult to believe sometimes when somebody brings something for sale and they don't do the simplest of tidies, like getting rid of the, although somebody might have walked. I had ants all over my car when I got this out yesterday, and I thought I'd got rid of them, but there's still some on it. The trouble is I got rid of them on and around the pot. They're obviously up in the tree as well, but they will gradually go. I will gradually get rid of them and then they'll be gone. Every time I see one, it will become an ex-ant. It will cease to be. And this is big enough that it won't really spin round here today, so we can't really spin it round and have an all-round view, but we'll be able to see the trunk an awful lot better when we get rid of these suckers. And also part way up the trunk, do out those two. There's a lot of them. As I say, it is prone to this. And it'll have to be kept on top of. It drains the strength out of they drain the strength out of the plant basically. So they need taking off. I can see where lots have been in the past and been cut off near the base. I think I may have just found where the ants are. There's a hole in under the trunk there. They may have a nest, which is a pain. Right, stubbly bits on the trunk. I want this trunk visible. I don't want any shoots coming out of the trunk. And now as soon as you get that lot out of the way, you can actually see it's a triple trunk. It's a triple trunk with branches. But literally the main trunk is effectively 3 from a large base. Each progressively getting smaller. That's good. So when they're all the same size, it doesn't look quite right. Now we've got to decide what would be the front. That doesn't look like a bad front with the twin trunks, but then you've got the largest one behind. I don't know whether I can actually spin this. It's catching on my wire. The other alternative is to come round here somewhere. Obviously it can be turned in its pot once it gets repotted. And some of these roots will go as well. There's a root there that, oh, and an ant, gotcha. And it comes out and goes over the top of the others. That would be better gone, but as it buries itself down in the pot, I won't try and do it now. So where are we then? We're getting up the trunk. We've got rid of the shoots out the side of the trunk. And we need to have a look at the basic structure, don't we? First of all, we have a branch that's died up here for some reason, so that needs to go. That's not going to shoot out again. I could turn it into a gin, but to me they don't quite look right on deciduous trees, so I prefer it was just gone. I'm going to take it off in stages. As that's the first big cut, I didn't know how hard the wood was going to be. Relatively hard. Let's tidy that up a bit. My knob cutter out. You can make a cut like this concave. It will heal over easier and it will look better afterwards. If you leave it sticking out as a stump, then it'll always be a stump. It's not going to suddenly go down in size, is it? So you have to get it down where you want it so that it can then heal over. You might need to get a bigger knob cutter. I've only got a small one, and sometimes when you get branches this sort of size it's difficult. Get the next size up as well, not instead of. Right, I'll get some cut paste on that. You can see this sort of thing's been done before. There's been a major cut here at some point. And we've got some sticking out bits down here that I don't like. They will heal much nicer if they are trimmed back. Another ant. You could start counting if you like. I think that's 4 since I brought it in, but probably 30 or 40 yesterday before I took it out of the car. They were all over the carpet in the back of the car and all over the pot. I didn't even notice them until the point I put my hands on the pot, and then I had ants all over my hands. Right, so what are we going to do with these bits of wire? We need to have a look at the main structure now. Now we've got rid of that. So this is obviously a very wide tree. Quite honestly, to me, where the branches start, this tree isn't tall enough. And it's quite a large tree as it stands, but it's all width and no height. So we may be deciding on taking some of this width off. We've got a large branch here with nothing on it until it gets to here. So if I keep it, I'm keeping that width because of that branch. So I'm going to take that branch off. Straight away we will remove that one, and that will thin it down quite a bit. And that takes that wire off as well, which removes that problem. So that's 2 problems in one go. Very bad's that wound. It's not too bad. Sorry, I know I'm in your way, but you can't see in here anyway because of the leaves, and I can't get in here because of another branch that's in the way. That'll have to do for now. Right, so if we're going to have this as the front, where we will have our, we can see it's a triple trunk. We've got the thickest trunk at the front. Still not sure about this, you know. But it's crossing over both of the other trunks. It's masking the base of this one and then crossing over this one. Do I want it like that? Well, it's a new tree, so at the moment I'm not going to make these decisions really. But what I do want, as I said, is a taller tree. If we're going to have a triple trunk, we don't want branches crossing in the middle, that's for sure. So we will, there's a really long branch been wired here that's sticking right out and going right across the trunk. I don't want that. Do I want any of it? Let's come down, let's start lower down. So we have our first main branch on this trunk here sticking out sideways, and the first branch off of it is pointing back into the centre of the tree. That's a no-no, so that one can come straight off. Now we can see the trunk. So that's our first branch. It has a shoot here, that's okay, and it's a double shoot. Then it comes out as far as here. I could do with some more branches, so we'll try and get it to back bud by nipping the end off. This whole branch could do with coming down, but it's incredibly I know it's brittle without pushing my luck, but that could actually be brought down with a tension wire, because that would take some very thick wire to hold that. But if I just put a wire loop round there and just hook it onto something down here, that will pull that branch down, and that will look a lot better and give me some negative space. So we've then got to look, if that branch is coming down a bit, is it too wide? Simple answer, yes. As I said, I don't want this tree as wide as this. So get the right tool, Roger. We're cutting twigs now. So I'm just going to nip some of these extensions, and then they will shoot out. And there's enough time this year to actually get some growth on some of these. I'm going to take that one off too while I'm at it. See, I pruned it to this bud. This bud's pointing this way. It runs with the branch. If I chose that one, it goes back across the trunk again, which is, I've just trimmed that to stop that happening. Now over here, a long one there. One sticking up there which I don't want, so take that right off. Right, that'll do. And then we've got a tiny little wispy branch here. And it's very, very long with no buds. No good. Chances of that back budding along that length are virtually zero. Can't get at that. Yes. It's only a wispy little thing anyway, and there's no sign of any life back down the length of that. Right, so that's our first branch done. Now we have to look at where are we going now. We need most of the growth to go out until we get to here, where I've got to choose something to go up. The obvious bit going up is here. This is relatively young wood here, and it has got a strong growth pointing upwards. So that will probably be an extension to this trunk, which means this becomes a side branch, which is a lot thicker than the trunk. But we're still going to need to keep it, but it's too wide. Take the extensions back. So I'm working on effectively what is now the second branch. The first branch on here is it. That is all that's on this trunk. No other branches apart from this. That's not very good. There's nothing else shooting out of here. But that's what we've got. Feed and water well. we could get some extensions coming out, some buds from the trunk. It's very prone to putting out suckers, which might mean it will. There were a couple that I cut off of this trunk, so it can produce growths from the trunk. We just have to hope that one day we get some on here. This is a very old piece of wood. But as I've said, that's all that's on it. It's just one branch. It's a trunk that runs into a single branch. So that also is where most of the width lies. I'm going to take that off. Not the whole thing. I'm going to take this back to... This is young wood here. This is new wood. So that will grow quickly. I'm going to take it off there because it's making the tree too wide. Now we're back to young wood, which will extend a lot quicker. Right, back to the branch I was doing, which is the extension of this. We've chosen our upright to come off of this back trunk, so we just look at this as a normal branch, which just needs to thicken up really. Don't need that wire on there. Where else does that go? Comes over here and over there. Where are you off to now? The leaves are quite big on this. This is the type of tree, like a beech, that when it's in full growth, you know, after the spring flush, it pays to go round and just take the large leaves off and leave the middle-sized and smaller ones. It makes the tree look older. The big leaves make it look young because they're out of scale. Oh, that's that bit of wire off. It wasn't doing anything. The branch that it was on didn't move when I took it off. But as I said, I'm not keen on wiring deciduous trees at the best of times, especially maples. Damage the bark on maples and you've got it almost for the life of the tree. And you often never forgive yourself. You think, oh, if I'd got that off a month earlier, I wouldn't have had all those nasty scars. And they're stuck there. You've got to watch it. Get your wiring off and on at the right time. And basically with deciduous trees, in my opinion, the time to get your wire on is after the main flush of growth has completely finished and the branches are starting to mature. They're starting to turn from that young wood to older wood. There's a change in the bark. So you can see it. Now, what are we doing here? That's the bit that's going up there. Do we need another piece going up? We don't need that sticking up in the air. There's a big leaf, we'll have that off. Just get some big leaves out of the way, I can see what I'm doing. Now that's a riser. That would look nice if it had several side shoots. As with that. As with that. It's going back into the tree, so we choose a bud that's coming outwards. Now this is our bit we've chosen to go up. Let's get that big leaf off. So we won't be doing much with that. This branch is crossing over with the next one. Separation, so we take that off. Now we've got an awful cluster here, but unfortunately that's going to have to be left for a bit because it's got to go up. And I need to find the bit that's most vigorous, and to do that it needs to be left. Pretty confident it's going to be this bit here. Yeah? That's the bit that looks the strongest to me. In fact, I can choose that now. And if I take off the subsidiary branches, down to buds of course, we'll get some shoots coming out. And if you leave some buds with some leaves on, they will extend. They will stop the sap from stalling, so the sap continues to come out. And slows the growth down sideways and puts all the growth into the vertical shoot, which is what I want. What I don't want is branches heading back into the middle of the tree, which includes you. Missed. Gotcha. Right, so over here we've got this bit here that has actually been wired. If that becomes a back branch, then it's in the wrong place. But unfortunately, so is the wire, because the wire is not at the base of the branch, so I can't twist it. Nonetheless, I don't want the wire on it, so we'll take the wire off now. See, if I if I'd left this wire, if I hadn't noticed it, if I thought, well, I'll just leave this tree till all the leaves fall and I can get a good look at it, chances are the wire would have already bit in. It's too late, you know. I don't know when this wire was put on. Luckily it hasn't bitten into the, because it's on quite young wood in places, it hasn't bitten in anywhere, and it's been wired quite nicely because it's relatively loose. It hasn't been put on tight, which is good, of course. It also means it comes off a lot easier. Ah, we like that. Come on, off you come. Let's see what I'm doing here. Right, so that's going to be the back branch. It's enough of it to give the tree some depth, so it's quite good. But again, I'd like to get it to start shooting out sideways, get more ramification on it now while there's still a bit of oomph left in the tree. Still quite a bit of growing season left, so let's use it and get a little bit of ramification where we can. Right. So we've selected our vertical. This is the only greenery on this main trunk, which is, perhaps that's why somebody got rid of it. Perhaps they've been waiting for shoots to come off of this trunk and they never happened. Hopefully we will get some. You can be patient, but obviously I need to draw the sap up here, so I'm only going to take the very tips of these off so that we're still drawing sap, which hopefully might push out some sideways stuff. Right, now we're getting a bit higher up in the tree. This is our next branch. There's a fair bit of it. I don't like that one, it's covering part of the trunk. Whoops, so tangled up with some wire. Right, so now we can see that interesting bit of trunk with the nice knot. That's an old knot to sort of place an owl would nest. Right, heading out. Heading out towards us. Big leaf, we'll have that off. And then we've got another wired tangle up here with a bit of wire that just sort of sticks out sideways doing next to nothing, but whatever it does is about to get undone, so we will take that off. That might have been just its anchor point, and the trunk would have been a better place. And then we've got all this. I can see why this had wire put on it, but the wires had nothing done with it. If you see what I mean, it hasn't been used to bend the branches into any form of shape or bring them back closer to the trunk or anything like that. It just seems to have been put on there and perhaps somebody was going to come back to it. It hadn't finished. And then it ends up, it was two pieces, I thought it was one. It's the end of that bit. Oh, I gotcha. There we go. So what we've now got here is this. Again, very long extensions with a little bit of greenery on the end. However, the piece on the other fork here has got buds much closer to the main trunk, so we'll take that off. We start selecting branches that are going to look good in the future and not detract from, you know, the view. So that's our upright bit, we're leaving that. However, that's our upright bit, we definitely don't want a sideways bit heading straight back in towards the tree. So that can go. That gives us a bit of negative space there as well, which means we can see through to that back branch a bit better. Right. that. I want to keep it, but it's a bit long. However, it's got a, there's a bud, we'll have that, that's better. Better, right, we've done that, I'm happy with that now. We've got this one here. I'm going to have to bring that round so that I can see what's going on. Right, so we've got a long extension heading upwards. We'll take that off. We've got some buds back here, and again this makes the tree too wide. So I'm now starting to think of the taper of the shape. So if this is our main width and this is now our main width coming round here, then we now need to get our dome shape, and we're up in the branches where that's going to happen. So we have to go careful. Got a feeling this tree was designed, whoops, this way round, simply because a lot of the growth is pointing this way. You know, it does look better, especially now it's had a bit of a trim. I can see what somebody was trying to get at. Yeah, I'm going to work with it this way round, which means that needs coming off, that big leaf there. It's just a reshape. So we've got a nice bit of negative space here. Got a branch heading forward that's had its end taken off, so it will go and fill this gap here along this bit. So we've gone from there to there, up into a sort of apex. Coming over here, that main big trunk now, with this silly little bit of green stuck on the end of it, has become of lesser importance by turning it this way round. So the fact that it hasn't got any branches coming out part way up the trunk is of less importance because it's masked by other parts of the tree. So this trunk here always needs to end up lower than the main trunk, which is now this. This is now the main tree heading upwards. So this always needs to be lower. Easily done. And we've already trimmed that, so that's all that needs doing. That branch out the back now, which is part of the big trunk, I'm not trying to get that to become taller anymore. All I need that to do is thicken up, so I can take a little bit more off of that. Now we get up into the cluster of branches, which is effectively the apex. And I want this tree taller. So somewhere in this tangle I've got to find something that can either be trained upwards or is already heading that way. And at the moment there's nothing. The top of this tree is exactly like my hornbeam tree. It comes to a point and then all of the branches have headed out horizontally and nothing's gone vertical. This one appears to be doing the same thing. So we've got to find something that's capable of heading up vertical. I mean, this is the obvious piece, this is heading up vertical, but then it looks like it at some point it's probably been wired and deliberately stopped from growing upwards, which is a big shame. However, it is a good twist. Perhaps we could bring that up. That'll snap if I take that up to vertical. So that's the point at which it's going to go. You can feel it. Pointing out sideways a bit too much here. Oops. Kids going mad next door. They're all on holiday now, so there's a snail there. Now on outside bonsai I don't worry about them too much, but I don't want it getting inside the orchid room. So at the moment I have no obvious extension to the trunk to gain me some more height. I'm going to have to wait for something to go mad probably next year. I can guide it think we need it to come back over here a bit. We certainly don't want it going out that way because there isn't so much over here. So we need it, it'd be nice if it sort of came like that. So this is the obvious bit to work on. You might even need to take this right off. So think about that. That would do it. Then we'd have a branch heading out backwards there with plenty of side growth. That's a good branch there, but not for the front of the tree. Now we're going this way round. But that's fine as it is. There's a few bits sticking upright I can take off. Do that now. So some of this is heading upwards in a bit of an aggressive fashion. Curb your desires, mate. But it's a good branch. It is a good branch. Big leaf off. Couple of whitefly there. Yeah, that's got to go as well. You can see through. You can see it sticking up. Right. It's going to seem a bit brutal, but I think that bit's got to come off to give me the curvature of the... So these trunks are pretty straight. There's not a lot of movement going on. There's some nice character in places, just where big branches have been chopped off. Fair enough. That's what I've got to work with. But I think this needs to go. And then that gives me a change of direction and possibly a leader here. So we will take it off. It's a lot of tree about to go missing, but hopefully you can now see why. We've now got, whoops, wrong. I need to be taller. If I'm going to start growing these trees taller, I'm going to have to cut my side branches off as well and get my leader to head upwards because I can't reach the top. Get something to stand on, and then one day, maybe. Because as one gets older, one doesn't get taller. If anything, you stay the same, you shrink. I think as my mum aged in her last sort of 10 years or so, I think she lost about a foot of her height. She shrunk right down. I mean, she was never a tall person anyway. But, right, now what are we looking at? Now we've got a change of direction, and I think that will become a leader. We've just got to get it to go. And to do that, we leave it alone and make sure nothing else is sapping its strength. So we trim everything else back. We'll take that one right off, not at the moment. Take it back to there. But this will become our leader. We will curve round and then go straight up again, and that's good. So if this isn't going to be a leader, then we certainly don't want that. And then this is effectively a branch. Is that a useful branch? It is actually. A little bit of wire, that would fill that gap nicely. I'm not doing it now. Well, in fact, I'll straighten a bit of this. It only needs a tiny little bit, just from the base. The first sort of couple of inches is all it needs. It's just to change its direction, basically. So if we come from, get an anchor point down here, around there, don't break off, bend, there we go, around there, and then right. Don't have bits of wire that are miles too long tangling up in all the branches when you know you're going to cut it off. Cut it off early. Right, so what were we doing? We were just changing the direction of this, weren't we? So we just need to come up through here. Just on this first couple of inches. So all I wanted to do was just bring this into that space there, and then obviously just reduce it in length because it's crossing right across the tree. We'll take it back to there. So we've now got something in this space here. We don't want the bit sticking up. That's good. I'm getting happier as we go along. I'm glad I turned it round. I've got a feeling that'll do for an initial trim, thinking about styling and literally just going that far. That's all it's had, is initial styling. Bit of branch selection, and that's your view. I think that's got the makings of quite a nice tree. And now, to me, it's well on its way. We will get an absolute burst of growth at the beginning of next year, at which point it can be fine-tuned. Let's get these... oh, most people love to know this. That's what I paid for it. For a mature tree. But the guy who sold it I know very, very well. I've known him a very long time, and I don't think he needs the money. Unlike me, who didn't want to spend it. I went out with the full intention of not buying any trees and came home with this. I'm now glad I did. As I said, this has got the makings of something nice. I think that does need to come down a bit. As a pull down rather than a wire down at some point. Otherwise, we do have an awful lot of space here, but if you think about it, my plan is to take the overall height of the tree up to about here. So this branch then isn't too high. Yeah? I always like to see a bit of trunk. See, you know, if this was a field-grown tree, you know, literally, the cattle would be sheltering under it. Yeah? There wouldn't, you know, there wouldn't be so much of this growth down this end. So yeah, I'm happy with that for now. And I haven't let too many ants in the grow room. I should be cross if I start seeing them gathering pace. Right, so there we go. A Hazel. Not something I intended to buy. I even had to ask what it was. Moving forward, it's a relatively mature tree. Mike said, don't expect to get any hazelnuts on it this year. The reason being he took the catkins off. So no flowers, no nuts. But he was implying that it has possibly produced some nuts in the past. That we will wait and see. But I would highly expect to get a flush of catkins in the spring. That's going to look nice because I haven't got any other tree that does that. This will be the only one that produces catkins. So we can look forward to that. I think that should be quite nice. It's funny, once you decide on a final view and a shape, you will keep finding bits that are sticking up that you don't want. Keep going forever and you end up with no tree left. Come on, leave it alone. Get it back outside. Now these like full sun. At the moment, full sun is combined with excessive heat that they don't like. So I'm going to put this where it gets some sun. Nothing in the garden's in the right place. I'm still in the throes of finishing things off. All of my bonsai stands for my mature trees, they need coating up, they need staining, they haven't been done yet. I've still got work to do out there, so the trees are just plonked in a place like, you know, most of my maples are out of the sun completely. They won't take this fierceness. So yeah, nothing's in the right place, but I'll find somewhere where this can get a bit of sun. They don't like soggy roots, they don't like going totally dry as a bonsai. So yeah, relatively easy to look after, I think, and pretty vigorous and will shoot out quite readily, although, you know, we've certainly got some long old bits of trunk that haven't got any shoots. But now I've sort of decided on my shape with my first branch and my second branch. I'm happy that there aren't any shoots on the trunk, although this big trunk at the back with its wispy bit at the top, and a branch coming out here might be quite nice. Come on, get your act together. No, you can't determine where a branch is going to grow on a trunk. It'll just happen, or not, as the case may be. Anyway, this has gone on plenty long enough. We are now up to 40 minutes. Sorry, but that's how it goes. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for being around. And as I said, I wasn't planning on buying anything. This takes me to 16 trees. I now have 16 bonsai that I intend to keep and work on. Now and again, you know, with 16 trees, there isn't work to do all the time. There will be periods when there's nothing to do but water and feed. And in the winter time, there's a lot less of that going on too. So it's the thing with the bonsai hobby. You know, I've spoke to people yesterday at the Staverton Fair. You know, they got 300 trees. They've always got something to do, which is possibly why they've got 300 trees. I couldn't cope. I'm quite happy with the number I've got. This is one more than I planned, but I'm pleased I got it. I think we can make something of this. Make something quite nice out of that. I was just going to say, and I've just spotted a bit of wire. I'll get that off. It's me who's just put it on there. Duh. More coffee. Coffee required. Unicorn juice. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.